pretty great. So you're now at 7 hit points with 4 armor slots.
This is the best character you've ever seen. You can just say it.
It's pretty great.
You heard it here first.
Hey guys, I'm Matthew Mercer.
I'm Travis Willingham.
And we're here to talk about Daggerheart. Specifically, do an example of character creation as we sit here and I work with you to build out Bertrand Bell.
Yes,
in
the
Daggerheart.
myth, the man, the legend.
So as we go through this, we're going to be creating him at level 1. And if we're feeling a little fancy at the end, we'll go ahead and jump to maybe up to level 4 and see how the character advancement goes within the first tier of character advancement system. As a reminder, everything here is an open beta, so some things are liable to change, shift, tweak before the final release. But if you have any further questions around this, we do have our How to Play Daggerheart video, which you can see linked somewhere around this video where links are. So you know where to find it.
It's up here.
Yeah, I think so.
It's down here.
Let's go ahead and start first by choosing a Bertrand's class. So of the classes we have here, just kind of probably go through these first for people that are here.
Okay.
We have the Bard, the Druid, the Guardian, the Ranger, the Rogue, the Seraph, the Wizard. We have the Sorcerer, which
He's definitely a sorcerer. Yes, he's definitely got magic in his
pretty
blood.
sure that's not the case.
Yep.
We have the Warrior, which uses Blade and Bone, which I think kind of leans more in the direction of your build. But we have a few different options here. if you
Don't
wanna
tell me
go
what
with
to
them.
do, Matt Mercer.
I'm not telling you what to do, but you have options here. Where do you think Bertrand sits in here?
I think it is probably a warrior. I love seeing how sorcerer has midnight and also the rogue has midnight.
Each class is where 2 different domains kind of overlap.
Intersect.
And they all kind of intersect in a circle for the base game. Which
I think it would be warrior.
Okay, cool. All right, now that we've got the actual character class chosen for Bertrand Bell, now we get to work out the foundation you choose. Now, the foundations are kind of the various paths, the various subclasses you can take, and the foundation is the initial kind of level 1 card of that subclass. So the 2 foundations you have to choose for a warrior, you have the Call of the Brave or the Call of the Slayer. The Call of the Brave enables you to stay brave-faced and endure in the face of true danger. The Call of the Slayer gives you some benefits to actually slay things a little nicer. So if you want to take a look at those and choose what you think best fits Bertrand.
I'm gonna slay.
All right.
Because let's be honest, BB totally slayed in the day. On a roll with hope, you may choose to place a single 1d6 Slayer die on this card instead of taking a hope. You can store a number of 1d6 Slayer dice equal to your proficiency and can pick up any number of these dice and roll them when making a weapon attack or damage roll to add their value to your total.
Path.
Slay!
Before you is the Call of the Slayer. All right, so with that foundation card chosen of your subclass, let's go ahead and jump into choosing your heritage. Heritage is a combination of your ancestry and the community that you come from. So the ancestry involves, the various fantasy ancestries, many of the classics that you come to know, the humans, which Bertrand Bell, I believe was.
I'm a human.
I think so, yeah.
I'm a boring human.
No, not boring, and we'll get to that in a second.
Thanks.
But you have the classic elves, dwarves. We also have some fun, weird ones to throw in there, like the fungrel, the fun little mushroom fungus folk. You have the clanks, which are the automaton robotic folk in a fantasy realm. And of course, ribbits, the
I think
cunning, at the very least, tiny frog person.
Everybody's made a ribbit.
They're pretty great. They're pretty great.
So far.
But going with Bertrand Bell, we'll go ahead and grab the human card here.
Oh, yes.
So the ancestries and the communities both give you abilities depending on what ones you choose. What is the human ability here?
It says perseverance. When you fail a roll that utilized one of your experiences, you may spend a hope to re-roll, and you must take the new result.
Yeah. Now we get to choose your communities that you come from. And so we have a lot of choices here. They all kind of represent the communities that you grew up or shaped you. Here, you just flip through here.
This
Wanderborn, Underborn, and these can be applied to pretty much any community specifically in a setting or a place you want to create in your mind. This is where your character came from, you can.
Nope.
What have you got it down to now?
Highborn, it says being part of a highborn community means you were born into a life of elegance, opulence, and prestige, usually within the upper echelons of the cities. But the other one that's interesting is Slyborn, because it says being part of a Slyborn community means growing up in the underbelly of a society surrounded by criminals and con artists. And it says Scoundrel, you have advantage on any rolls where you're negotiating with criminals, detecting lies, or finding a safe place to hide, which is pretty good since he's such a coward.
I mean, you tell me.
Let's do Slyborn just cause.
Okay.
I'm not saying this is canon. It's just what we're doing.
All right. Slyborn
We're building a character.
Exactly.
We're taking chances.
So between human And Slyborn, your ancestry and community, that is your heritage. So you get to write down on your character sheet under heritage,
Right.
you are a Slyborn human.
Slyborn. Humi.
Character traits are agility, which is your ability to sprint in and out of danger, to make big leaps from place to place. You have your strength, which is your ability to break, smash, push, lift, crawl, and hit things harder. Finesse, which is the ability to do more controlled, direct, dexterous sort of maneuverability.
Very specific.
As well as pinpointing and precision. Instinct is your ability to kind of instinctually understand the world around you, being able to follow your gut, if you will. Your presence is your ability to affect and change people's opinion based on your presence, whether that be your charisma, whether that be your strength of words, your boldness, whether
Your
that
humor, your charm.
yeah, that's your presence.
Okay.
And then knowledge is the knowledge that you've accrued in the world around you. That can also help you to analyze challenges and details in the world around you and try and pick up the pieces of mysteries and puzzles. Now, across the board here, everyone starts with a number spread that you get to decide where they go. It is a -1, 2 zeros,
Okay.
2 +1s, and a +2.
Okay. So
Right?
I've got a 0 in knowledge, a 0 in finesse, +1 in agility, +1 in instinct, +2 in presence, and a -1 in strength.
Oh man, so those
'Cause
years
he's
are
a silver
creeping up on
fox.
them.
Yeah, it's rough. It's
Yep.
rough.
That's a tough go.
When that cartilage goes.
Okay, now that we got the traits figured out there, we move on to your character's damage thresholds. Now, the thresholds are unique to each class at level 1, and you can see here on the sheet under your hit points and stress. You have your minor threshold starts at 5, major starts at a 10, and severe at a 15. Based on certain domain card choices you make as you level up, and as well as points you get to spend as you level up, those can adjust and get higher and give you a better ability to soak damage. Like the minor damage threshold itself, any time you take damage, you look and see if it's above or below any some of the thresholds here. So if you take 7 damage, that's between your minor of 5 and your major of 10, which would only cause you to mark 1 hit point.
Sweet.
If you take damage above, equal to or above a 10, but below a 15, between your major and your severe, you take 2 hit points. And anything that's equal to or higher than your severe damage threshold is 3 hit points. Things can get deadly pretty quick if you're not paying attention. But you don't have to do any math. When you take the damage, you just look to see where it lies and then mark the hit points accordingly. Now, every class has its own base evasion. Warriors are fairly combat-centric, so they actually started at 10, which is not bad at all.
I can
So
just put it in?
Yeah, just put a 10 right there. That can be adjusted based on different factors, like the equipment that you carry might weigh you down and lower your evasion. Certain effects in the game can improve or decrease that. Next up, we're gonna go ahead and fill out your character's hope. So hope is an expendable resource and a constantly regenerating resource in Daggerheart. But you get to spend the hope on all sorts of abilities that you can use to help out your friends, as well as to fuel certain domain card abilities that you can choose as your character advances. So since hope can max out at 5, and it kind of regenerates fairly often, depending on how often you roll in your game, you don't want to sit on it too much. You kind of consider it a fluid resource. But you do start with 2, so you can go ahead and fill in 2 of those there. I'd recommend lightly, since you'll be erasing them and filling them in often through the game. So now that we've gotten your traits figured out and your hope and your damage thresholds, we can look into getting your equipment, starting with your starting weapons. So let me go ahead and get this equipment sheet here for you. This is the spread of basic equipment available to you at level 1. So any of these weapons, you're likely to choose. You can see beyond their names, it tells you what trait they utilize. You get to add the bonuses or penalties of the trait that are present for each weapon based on how you did your trait spread. It tells you the range of them, melee, very close, far, very far. You have your primary physical weapons and your primary magic weapons. Tells you how much damage they deal, the type, and then of course the burden.
Killer. So I can get a arcane gauntlet for Bertrand. No, because he's not magic. But I want it, Matt. Look at these weapons. This is my favorite part.
What was Bertrand's main weapon in the game?
He had the gambler's blade, which was like a rapier.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So is there a rapier there?
there is.
What's its trait?
It's presence, which I have a +2 in. You can't write this
Nope.
stuff.
It's like
God, I'm the best.
I wish we had planned that, but it's like he knows his character.
Okay, so now I'm gonna do rapier. I can put it here,
Cool.
right?
So, yeah,
the
so
top
go ahead and
one.
put rapier for the name of your primary weapon.
And then presence is the trait.
Presence for the trait, and then the range is melee. You go ahead and put that next to it. And
Oh, right next to it. Sweet.
Yep. one-handed weapon. So you can go ahead and fill in that one hand there. And it does have a feature. It's a small weapon, so it adds a +1 to agility. So you can write that under feature there.
Amazing.
If you wanted to have a secondary starting weapon and an offhand, you have these like round shield. You can have a short sword, a whip,
grappler, hand crossbow.
or just none.
Nada. You know what? I'm just gonna throw a dagger in there because I feel like he wants to look cool, like
dig
sitting
that.
around the fire. You
Yeah,
know? I don't even know if it'll come into
Go for it.
effect.
So secondary weapon
So
there.
I'll do dagger. It's finesse.
Finesse, yeah.
And it's melee. And then +2. Oh, when it's paired, a +2 to primary weapon.
So you get to go
damage.
ahead and write that down, +2 to primary weapon.
Amazing. Okay, great.
All right.
It'll put it in his belt. It'll be more show
Perfect,
than
yeah,
anything.
if he needs it. All right, and now that we have your starting weapons chosen, we can choose your starting armor. So here we have the starting armor for the game. We have leather armor, breastplates, chainmail, full plate, the baseline for it.
We did say full plate. Can I just kind of put Bertrand's old head sticking out of a suit of armor?
This is your character to build. This is your version of Bertrand to explore.
I just wanted to clank around like an old bastard.
Is this him like pre-Bell's Hells when he got a weird, thing up his craw and decided to try out like a different way? Rapier and full plate, which is a beautiful choice.
Oh.
Why not? Make it weird, man.
Okay.
Why not? And so to go over the armor score too,
Okay.
whenever you take damage, you have the chance of spending an armor slot. Everyone starts with 3 armor slots, and there are ways to repair your armor during rests. But you spend an armor slot to reduce the incoming damage by the amount of your armor score.
Okay.
Which means if you take like 10 damage and 10 is your major threshold, you can mark an armor slot to reduce it and take it into a lesser threshold and thus take less hit point damage.
But look at full plate armor. That's 8.
It's 8, but it's also very heavy, which gives you -1 to evasion and agility. So
I know, but it would just look like a little bean in a spacesuit.
if that's what you want to make, man,
I kind of want to do it now.
do it.
Okay,
All right,
okay,
we got
okay,
this.
okay.
Bertrand's in full plate.
We're doing
for this
it.
particular build, which is awesome. You go ahead and write down full plate first. The armor score for that is 9. And the ability to get this is very heavy.
Very
Which is
heavy.
-2 to your evasion.
-2 to vision.
And -1 to agility.
-1 agility.
So now your evasion gets reduced to an 8 from the baseline 10. You're quite a bit easier to hit.
Oh, it feels gross.
It's okay, but you can take the hits a little better. However, you do still have 9 armor.
That's
You
true.
should go ahead and put a 9 armor for your armor score there. All right, and from there now we get to choose your starting inventory. So there's a secondary leveling sheet for each class here. This is the one for warrior.
Nice.
And so when you see up here where it says under inventory, write down the things that you take automatically, and then a few things to choose to be added to that starting inventory.
Torch. 50 feet of rope. Thank God you always need rope.
Necessary stuff.
I like how it says just basic supplies. So you can come up with what that is in your head, right?
Yeah,
Like the things that you would just
You don't want to
generally
like
have.
be doing your taxes, when it comes to everything in your bag just to survive. And then the final choice you make is either the drawing of a lover or a sharpening stone. I mean,
This is incorrect. Can we make an edit?
Sure.
Drawing of lovers.
There you go.
Definitely.
It's more of a sketchbook, really.
Yes. It's a calendar.
Okay, so with that, your inventory is complete, and now you get to work on your character's description. So there's a list here of options you can choose from. And these, of course, are helpful for just quickly sussing out a character's basic physical description. Like, say, clothes. Clothes that are
Yeah, let's do royal more than sleek.
eyes that are like.
Let's do endless ocean.
Okay, great. And a body that's.
I mean, he's carved.
You can write some stuff in there too if it's not on there. But these are things you can pick from if you want.
Actually, I like lanky. Let's do lanky.
And of course, you are the color of.
He's falling snow in his.
In his later years.
Yes.
It doesn't get outside very often. This boy.
No.
Okay. And an attitude like.
Oh, it's a hero, at least in his mind.
In his mind. Great. So now that we finished up the character description for Bertrand Bell, we can jump to your actual domain card. This is the bread and butter of the character class that you chose. Every character class sits as an overlap between 2 different domain cards. The warrior sits between blade and bone. The blade domain focuses on combat, damaging attacks and spells, and just being like a really powerful and effective soldier in the front lines of battle. You're just good with weaponry and attacks and strategically doing the most damage as you can. Bone is about movement and tactical strategy and being able to adjust the battlefield and move through the battlefield quickly, deftly, and at your advantage. So these are kind of the overlaps you have. Now at level 1, you get to access 2 cards you get to choose of the 2 domains. And each domain has 3 cards of first level.
Oh, snap.
So you have 6 cards total to pick from. You have 3 blade cards that include Retaliation, which is when you take damage from an enemy in melee range, you can mark a stress to immediately deal weapon damage to the creature at half proficiency rounded up. There's Not Good Enough, which is the 2nd blade first level ability. Anytime you roll your damage dice, you can re-roll any 1s or 2s. If you do, you must take the new result, even if it's a 1 or 2.
Some people love those. I'm allergic to those things. I like the 1s sometimes.
Well, there
we
you
can
go.
get rid of that one.
Okay, so not good enough is not good enough for you. The last one we got under Blade is Whirlwind. When you make a successful attack on an enemy in melee range, you may also spend a hope to use that roll against every other enemy in melee range. But that roll you made is now effectively put against all enemies that are around you, and then any that it does succeed against, they take half damage.
I got it.
So it's
well,
not
that's actually pretty good if you wade into somebody and it's like 1 hit.
You can choose 2 of the spread, meaning you can choose 2 bone and ignore all of blade, or 2 blade and ignore all of bone, or 1 from each.
Okay.
You just have 6 to choose from and 2 that you get to pick.
Okay.
So on the bone side of things, you have Nimble. It says while this card is in your loadout, meaning it's a card that you've chosen for your character to be active, you add your agility score to your evasion. The 2nd bone ability at level 1 is I See It Coming. When you're targeted by a ranged attack, mark a stress to roll your hope die, which is a d12 of your duality dice, and increase your evasion against the attack by its value. The last one you got here is called Deft Maneuvers. Deft Maneuvers is you can spend a hope to move anywhere within far range without making an agility roll to get there. So normally in Daggerheart, if you move beyond close range, which is like roughly 30 or so feet, you have to roll an agility roll to get there. So with this, Deft Maneuvers, you can spend a hope to go anywhere within far range and not have to worry about a roll at all.
This makes full plate a little bit more palatable, the Death Maneuvers, but I think I'm really feeling I See It Coming and Retaliation.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a solid spread there. All right, cool. So next up, we get to go through background questions for your character. Now, background questions are not absolutely necessary. A lot of people who especially have experience in RPGs, you have a strong idea of your backstory and how you want to define your character. But these are great questions to either layer on top of that and help maybe think of things about your character's history that you hadn't before. Or if you have no idea and you just want to make it up on the spot or find something to jump off of and then build off of, these are great questions to kind of start that internal conversation. So for here, background questions include, who taught you to fight? And why did they stay behind when you left home?
If he came from a criminal background or something like that, let's say that in his younger years he was caught and arrested, and maybe there was like a law enforcement person that was like, you have to be able to take care of yourself. Let me show you how you might be able to do that.
Okay, what was their name?
Shaun.
Shaun, all right.
Yes. Shaun Millmore.
Oh my God. Alrighty. So your second background question as a warrior, somebody defeated you in battle years ago and left you to die. Who was it, and why did it feel like such a betrayal?
Dang. Let's say after Vox Machina, and let's call the group the Heralds.
Okay. Anybody in the group specifically that defeated you and left you to die?
Yes, of course it was. That bitch Sandy.
Write down Sandy.
Yep.
What legendary place have you always wanted to visit, and why is it so special?
Oh, man. Yeah, let's say Isocross.
So he's always wanted to visit Isocross.
Yes.
So all these background questions work as a great jumping off point for the player to start thinking about their character's history and how they fit in the world and what their motivations are, but also ripe for the GM to pluck bits of information from to possibly incorporate into their stories down the road to catch the player off guard too. So it's a fun little option there. Next up, we get to generate your character's experiences. Experiences are things in the world, experiences that your character has had that's defined their skills and abilities, the things that they're generally better at or at least more trained in than the other average person. So here on your character sheet, it says experiences. You start with 2, and you get to add a +2 to one of the experiences and the +1 to the other. Now these experiences, they can be somewhat broad about your background, like stuff like charlatan or social climber. Could be options. And what you can do as a player is you can spend a hope to apply that bonus to a role that fits within that experience. So for charlatan, you're trying to convince somebody, do this deal where obviously this is extremely expensive gold that requires top dollar, regardless of the pyrite type materials of it. You might say, well, I'm going to go ahead and use my charlatan experience to add my +2 to that. So you spend a hope, and you get to add that bonus to your roll. So
I as you were saying it, I came up with the phrase, "Do you know who I am?" So a +2 to like anything that might be saying that he was an important part of Vox Machina, or all the beasts that he's slain, or the countries that he's visited, or maybe the royals or dignitaries that he has befriended, and maybe leveraging and applying like intimidation and pressure on anyone he might be interacting with.
That's cool. I love that. So yeah, like they're meant to be open and flexible and applying to narrative moments that make sense should both the player and the GM agree upon it. It just costs a hope to do so, so it's another use of that resource as you go. And you get more experiences as you level up, and you can apply bigger bonuses to the experiences you have. So those are your character's experiences. Now that we have the bulk of your character pretty much ready to go, now we get to write in your pronouns, and now we get to work on character connections with other characters in the group. So these are also questions that you don't necessarily have to follow in your game, but for players, it's a fun way to have a group that starts with some dynamics and relationships. So, if you're doing a session where they're all meeting for the first time, these connections might not be as important then and can kind of apply down the road, but these help kind of start the game with those connections already set in.
So you would pick a particular person at the table and find an agreed upon link?
Correct. You can either ask it openly and somebody can take that thread if they have an idea and they can answer that, or you can choose somebody and put them on the spot and be like, how did we meet before this?
We got in a bar brawl a month ago, and afterwards we went to the next bar and drank away our brews.
Right, we became drinking buddies after this one thing, and you both write that down, and already out of that one question, you have like an actual pre-game moment that you can fall back on of knowing each other, and that becomes a thread out of the gate. So with that, the connections are done, and as is level 1 Bertrand Bell. So let's say that Bertrand's got some adventuring out of his system for a bit, and he gets to level up. Let's see what that looks like. So let's go ahead and level up Bertrand to level 2. At level 2, you take an additional experience. So
you can make him another one? Need more fiber.
The creative possibilities there terrify me.
That's +1?
It's +1.
Okay, great.
When you level up, record on your character sheet, then choose 2 available options from the list below and mark them. There are 3 slots you can mark to increase 2 unmarked character traits by 1 and mark them. So you can increase 2 of them for 1 box.
Let's definitely get strength out of the negative ones.
So strength goes up to a 0, and then you get to add a +1 to any of the other ones.
Amazing. Let's do finesse and get him up.
And you get to mark the circles next to them, which means they cannot be increased again until you move on to the next tier of leveling at level 5.
Got it.
So you can do another box and choose 2 other ones to level up, or you can permanently add 1 hit point slot and have a little more hit points. You could permanently add 1 stress slot to have a little more stress to endure. You could increase 2 experiences by 1 to buff up those bonuses. You can increase your proficiency by 1. And proficiency increases the damage that weapons do by an additional die, as well as some abilities.
Get out of here.
Damage.
Done. I don't even need to see anything else.
All right. And then at the end, increase your severe damage threshold by +2 and choose a new domain deck card of your level or lower. So you still get access to the bone and blade cards that you didn't pick last time, but now you have access to some higher level ones. So the 2 new bone cards you can pick from are Ferocity. When you cause an enemy to mark any hit points, spend a hope to temporarily increase your invasion by the number of hit points you dealt. Strategic Approach is the other option. After a long rest, place a number of tokens equal to your knowledge trait, 0, with a minimum of 1. So you get 1.
I'm learning!
I know, you'll get there. But you can spend these tokens when you make an attack roll to make the attack an advantage. You get to add a d6 to the roll.
Oh, man.
You can add a character token to the action tracker for this, not add a token.
Or add 1d8 to your damage?
Yeah. Or from Blade at level 2, you have a Soldier's Bond. Once per long rest, if you compliment someone or ask them about something they're good at, you may both take 3 hope. The other option is Reckless. You may always mark a stress to take advantage on an attack roll against a target. You get to add a d6 to your attack roll at the cost of a stress anytime you make it.
I'm going to take a Soldier's Bond.
Okay, all right.
Wait, I changed my mind. Give me.
Whirlwind? Is that the one you're looking for? The one where you hit everything around you for half damage? All right. Now you're done with level 2 leveling. Let's go to level 3 now. So go ahead and change your level now to level 3. So now you get to mark 2 more of these boxes of your choice, but you can't increase the ones that you've already marked.
Right, it has to be new ones.
Yeah.
Well, knowledge is getting out of the 0.
Going for an even spread here for Bertrand.
Yes,
I like that.
100%. And let's get agility up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have 1 more box you can spend as your 3rd level.
I'm going to increase my minor threshold I'm going to do major by 2.
Okay, so you mark that.
So that goes from 10 to 12.
Correct.
Sweet. And then because it's level 3, do I again increase
every
severe
single time you
damage?
level, then you increase your severe threshold by 2 again. And get to choose another domain card from the previous levels if you want to. So you still have access to the level 1 and level 2 blade cards or any of the bone cards you had previously, the new level 3 ones, which for the blade are versatile fighter. You can choose to use the character trait of your choice on an equipped weapon rather than the trait it calls for.
Ooh.
And then when dealing damage, you can mark a stress to take the maximum value of one of your damage dice instead of rolling it. You got Scramble, which is once per short rest, when an enemy in melee would deal damage to you, you can avoid the damage entirely and safely move out of melee range.
They just whiff. Dude, I like these new news. This is great.
Pretty fun. And then for the bone, you have Brace. Whenever you use an armor slot to reduce incoming damage, you may also spend any number of hope. For every hope you spend, reduce the incoming damage by the value of your proficiency. Or Tactician. When you help an ally, which you can spend a hope at any time to help an ally and describe how you help them to add the advantage d6 to their roll. The advantage die you roll, however, is a d8. So you're better at helping people as a tactician. Whenever you're making a tag team roll, which is a fun thing you can do in the game by spending 3 hope, and you and another person can team up your maneuvers together. Whenever you do that, you roll a d20 for your hope die instead of the d12.
But I'm selfish, so I'm going to go with Scramble.
And we do the final level 4 leveling.
Level 4, going up to 4.
2 more boxes.
I'm going to add an armor slot, and I'm going to permanently add 1 hit point slot.
You got it.
Because I feel like I've been getting rocked by this point.
And increase your threshold.
Sever? Sever damage?
Severe.
I'm pretty sure it's sever.
Severe.
We'll reach out to Oxford.
There you go. So 21. Your severe damage threshold is now 21. That's pretty slick at level 4. So you're now at 7 hit points, an armor score of 9, which is pretty high with 4 armor slots, which is pretty slick.
This is the best character you've ever seen. You can just say it.
It's pretty great.
You heard it here first.
And for your final domain card choice, we now get to the 4th level. I'll do bone first.
Okay.
We have Redirect. When you successfully evade a ranged attack, you may roll a number of d6s equal to your proficiency. If any of them are a 6, you can mark a stress to redirect it to instead damage an enemy.
Dang.
Close ranged. Or Boost. If you have an ally in close range of you, you can mark a stress to boost off of them and into the air to perform an aerial attack at an enemy within far range. You essentially like speedball special yourself across the battlefield, which gives you advantage on the attack, and you get to add a d10 to the damage. Then you end in melee range of the target. You get literally boost off and thrown towards an
You can
opponent.
just see screaming open helm, full plate armor, Bertrand Bell, like screaming across the,
Which is fun. And then for Blade, we have Deadly Focus. Once per short rest, you can apply all your focus towards a single target. Choose that target. Until you attack another target, you defeat the creature or the battle ends, you add +1 to your proficiency.
Whoa, so this would be 3d8?
Now, it would be 3d8 against that one target until you either defeat them, are defeated, or you choose to hit something else.
So good.
Or fortified armor. Increase your armor total by +2, and while this card is in your loadout, and then once per short rest, you can use an armor slot without marking it. So kind of get like a phantom 5th armor slot.
Already really stacked on armor. Let me see if else.
This is that was the Bertrand rocket you were talking about.
Yes, Bertrand Rocket. Thank you for reminding me.
So with those choices, at level 4, as Bertrand Bell, you have Retaliation, I See It Coming, Whirlwind, Scramble, and Boost.
Now, is there any time you would change out a card? Like you could switch them once you've got it, you've got it.
So at this level, you have 5 domain cards in your loadout, and 5 is the maximum that you can have in your loadout. Whenever you take a rest, you can change out cards. So at level 5 and higher, you're gonna have 1 card that you kind of put in your vault. However, you see this little number in the upper right-hand corner?
I do.
That's the recall cost. That's how much stress it takes to swap it with the card in your vault. So even the cards that you don't pick for your loadout, the cards that are more utility focused, you can leave them out. And then if a situation happens where it's really useful, and you're like, oh, I wish I put that in my loadout, you can spend the number of stress to swap it in with one of the cards.
On a rest, mark a stress. You
Well,
can
no,
swap
well, you can swap it for free on a rest, but you can do it in the moment.
Oh, that
it
adds
costs
a lot
stress.
of value to one that has a 0 stress.
Exactly.
Ooh,
So some of the
okay.
0 stress cards might be not quite as powerful as other comparable ones, but being 0 stress means you can kind of keep them out of your loadout at the higher levels and just swap them in if you need it.
That's pretty great.
You know, you got options at your disposal.
Okay. All right.
It's a pretty solid build. This would be a fun combatant, I think. Bertrand in his full plate glory, his odd
Cosmonaut
days.
Bertrand.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But nevertheless, thank you so much for joining us for this little building character creation process of Bertrand Bell and Daggerheart. You can learn more and join our open beta playtest at daggerheart.com. You can dive in. Please break the game. Tell us what works. Tell us what doesn't.
They break the game?
Well, please, we're just what the whole point of open beta is.
Break the game.
Break it. Tell us what you really love about it through our official surveys. We want to help craft this into the best game it can be with your help, so all of us get to enjoy it, its final version being the best it can possibly be. And the more people who play the game, the better we can make it. So jump in, destroy it, tell us all the things that you enjoyed and want to see improved. We are so extremely excited to build this game with all of you, not just for you. So please play often and submit your surveys to us. And thank you for joining us.
You can also send all of the Cosmonaut Bertrand Bell art directly to me. My socials are above and below and around.
We're not doing that.
Okay.
But thank you, Travis, for being our guinea pig on this. And thank you for joining us. Hope you have fun building your characters.